Welcome everyone. Before we begin, let's take a moment to just be here, center ourselves, and feel that we are arrived in this space. So just be in a comfortable position, allow your body to relax and settle. And if you want, you can close your eyes or just soften your gaze. Take a couple of deep breaths and do a full gentle inhale and then exhale from your mouth, letting go anything outside this moment. And let your breath find a natural, smooth, soothing rhythm. And with every inhale, imagine drawing in a sense of calm and strength. And with every exhale, releasing any tension, stress, or burdens that you may be carrying. And as you continue to breathe, bring your awareness fully into this present moment. Notice sensations in your body, the steady rise and fall of your chest, and feeling of your feet grounded beneath you. Allow yourself to fully feel anchored here, supported in this space. And now gently turn your attention inwards. And without judgment or need to change anything, simply notice what's here right now. Perhaps there are thoughts, emotions, physical sensation present. Observe them with kindness and letting them be. Today, as we explore standing up for ourselves, reclaiming our self-worth, take a moment to connect with the intention that you brought here today as you join in. And recognize this as an act of courage, dedicating time to heal, strengthen, and support yourself. Each inhale fills you with a sense of inner resilience, and every exhale releases any doubts or self-criticism. Let this gentle energy of compassion grow, expand to fill your entire being. Know that you are worthy of this time, this space, and the care you're about to give yourself. Now take one deep breath, grounding yourself, and as you exhale, settle into a state of openness and readiness for the insights and healing that this session may offer. And when you feel ready, gently open your eyes and come back into this place here. So today the topic, based on all your feedback, is actually surviving psychological bullying. So standing up for yourself. So what we'll do is we'll get into some definitions, what means psychological bullying, and how does it impact your emotional and mental well-being. And then we get into way forward, saying, okay, if that's how we get impacted, what can we do about it? And we'll get into way forward, and then we'll start to prepare into what we call an IFS, internal family system session, and we'll finish the session and walk into sound healing, and then we'll open up for Q&A at the end of the end of the hour. And the idea is that if you may have questions or you may have difficulties with some parts, and we will see how we'll address them. So thank you for being here. So let's get into definition. So psychological bullying is a form of emotional abuse in which one person uses manipulation, intimidation, or subtle control tactics to erode another person's self-worth and confidence. So unlike physical bullying, this type of abuse often operates under the radar, using indirect or covert methods that can be very difficult to be recognized or seen by others. So for example, in a workplace, a colleague might subtly undermine your ideas. Perhaps they ignore your contributions or offer backhanded comments, suggesting your work isn't good enough. And over time, this form of subtle put-downs chips away to your own self-confidence, leaving you questioning your own abilities, creating a sense of self-doubt, which is sometimes very hard to shake because this has been repeated over time. In a personal relationship, psychological bullying can take in different forms. Imagine a situation where with a partner or a close family member, like a parent, who frequently dismisses your feeling. When you express being upset, they might respond with phrases like, "You are overreacting, you are too sensitive." Now, these comments make you feel as though your emotions aren't valid, leading you to question your own perception of events and eventually your own self worth. And there are different kinds of bullying tactics that are there. Gaslighting is probably one of the most common one. This involves making someone doubt their own perception or memory, leaving them unsure of what is real. So it can be in a partner might say things like, "That did not happen," or "You're imagining things," when you bring up a concern. And over time, you may begin to question your own reality, feeling confused and less confident in your own instincts. The other one is invalidation, which is dismisses or minimizes another person's emotion, suggesting they aren't legitimate, the emotions are not legitimate. And for instance, if you share a frustration with a parent or a partner and they respond to you something like, "You're too sensitive," or "Why are you so dramatic?" you may feel as though your emotions aren't acceptable. And this constant dismissal can lead to shame or feeling unworthiness. Social exclusion, this is a tactic involves deliberating isolating someone from a group or event or sometimes family in either in a workplace or there might be like colleagues planning an outing and they ignore you out or put you out, or in case of family, a family member forgetting to tell you about gathering and then excusing it with something like, "Oh, we thought you wouldn't want to come," or "You are never there," or something like that. And this type of exclusion reinforces a feeling of not belonging, and that can deeply impact one's self-esteem. So psychological bullying can be just as damaging as physical abuse. It operates by instilling doubt, reduce self-worth, isolating individuals into ways that are hard to identify but are very profoundly impactful. And by recognizing these tactics, we can begin to see the often hidden ways our confidence or self-respect may have been worn down. And this awareness is actually one of the first steps toward reclaiming your self-worth and standing up for yourself in empowered ways. Now, what kind of impact? So let's go into the impact that this can have. So chronic stress and self-perception. So basically, psychological bullying leads to ongoing stress that our bodies respond to as if we are in constant threat. Gababate in his research shows that prolonged exposure to this kind of stress alters our nervous system, keeping it in a state of what we call hypervigilance, and which means we are left feeling tense, anxious, or exhausted, as we are always looking for danger, for where the attack, as I say, will come from, even post that when let's say the impact was done. So for instance, many people experience physical symptoms like stress, like insomnia or digestive issue that can often be traced back to prolonged exposure to negative undermining interactions. Imagine a situation where someone repeatedly questions your decisions or subtly makes you feel incompetent. And this constant fight or flight response takes a toll, leading to this deep-seated self-doubt and cycle of chronic stress, which then becomes what we call hypervigilance. People are unable to be with others and feels extreme stress. Also, over time, psychological bullying can cause us to internalize the messages we receive from others. For example, if somebody repeatedly invalidates your thoughts or feelings, you may start to question whether you truly matter or if you are simply too sensitive. And this internalized bullying becomes part of your self-talk, and you start to reinforce this belief of unworthiness or helplessness. And many people find themselves thinking, I'm just not good enough, or I must be wrong. And these beliefs then act like invisible weights, holding us back from standing up for ourselves. And then we feel ourselves stuck, not fulfilling of pursuing our goals, or even feel we start to become uncomfortable setting boundaries. Shame, so internalized shame is another consequence where we no longer feel worthy of kindness or respect, not just from others, but also from ourselves. For example, if a person is constantly criticized or somebody treats you with disdain, it's easy to start believing you deserve that treatment. And this shame manifests as a self-criticism, and you may be hard on yourself for even making small mistakes and thinking things like, I should have done better. And this then turns into self-bullying cycle. So it perpetuates, and then it makes it challenging to feel empowered and hopeful because you become your biggest critic. Because you learn that from the external psychological bullying. So you actually start to self-bully. So self-bullying or psychological bullying can have a deep and lasting impact on mental health. And over time, we can begin to internalize these experiences, adapt kind of a negative self-view that's hard to shake up. And so recognizing this or bringing this awareness to yourself is actually a doorway to healing, where we begin to challenge these beliefs and nurture a more compassionate relationship with ourselves. And this is what we are going to try and do today. So what is the way forward? So before we go into the way forward, let's look at these 4 responses that are common. And you've heard it all the time: fight, flight, freeze, fawn, in the context of psychological bullying, because psychological bullying can trigger each of these responses in different ways. So the fight response might show up as defensiveness or anger, rage. For example, if someone undermines us, we might feel compelled to argue back or defend ourselves forcefully. While with this reaction, the aim is to protect ourselves in a form of self-defense, but it can sometimes escalate situations, leaving us feeling drained or misunderstood. Flight. This response involves wanting to escape or to avoid a situation. We may stop responding to text, skip social gatherings, stop meeting people, or even leave a job if a colleague or a boss constantly undermines us, or leave a relationship for the same reason. While avoidance brings temporary relief, it often leads to feeling of isolation or avoidance of things we once enjoyed. So as if life gets drained out of. Freezing is like a shutting down, so an emotional paralysis. Imagine being verbally attacked or belittled. Rather than defending yourself or leaving, you feel numb, unable to respond. And sometimes people dissociate, as we call it. And this often happens because our mind is so overwhelmed, it doesn't know anything else to do, but we freeze to avoid further harm. Fawning is a tendency to appease or accommodate bully to avoid conflict. For example, we may go out of our way to please someone, even at our own expense, hoping to keep peace. And this response often leaves us feeling unappreciated, disconnected from our true needs. So what happens is, over time, to cope up with this interaction, people develop what we call specific parts of ourselves, which are different sub-personalities or facets, which are there to help you survive. For example, We may have a compliant or a confrontational self that always agrees or creates conflict and escalation. And then there could be someone which is like a defense unit, which is a defense self that constantly feels on guard, ready to protect us. And some may have withdrawn self that retracts inwards, feeling safe to isolate themselves. Now, in our work, what we do is that instead of pushing one part aside or trying to suppress the feeling, in IFS we encourage to approach each part with curiosity. We ask each part what it wants, what is it trying to do, what is its intention, what is it afraid of, where did it get it from, and how would it feel safe again, which is a classical what we do in IFS. And the idea is that then we bring these conflicting parts together so that they can understand each other and stop the conflict within, because it understands better where it comes from. And so you start to make changes into how you react to the external world. Okay, that's the premise. Okay, and that's what we are going to try and do today. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to ask you to take a moment to think of situations where you felt pressure to agree or keep peace, even if it went against your true feelings. And think of a time when you felt urged to stand up for yourself, but it led to a sense of conflict or defensiveness. So protective part comes up and doesn't allow you to speak for yourself. So you're looking for a situation where you are actually either pressurized to bring peace, so this situation doesn't escalate. At the same time, you have this inner urge to stand up for yourself and you're unable to do. So think about situations. And you can also bring this in the context of if you believe you have been through psychological bullying yourself. And see if you can have two objects near you. One on near your left hand, another near your right hand. And just sit comfortably in a peaceful spot, allowing yourself time to reflect what you just brought in. And take a few deep breaths to center yourself. Inhale through your nose, drawing in calm and clarity. And exhale through your mouth, releasing any tension or anxiety you might be feeling. Just spend a few moments to ground yourself fully in the present moment. Now visualize your safe space. Now, a safe space is a memory or a person or a place that brings you comfort and protection. So this is your sanctuary, where you feel secure enough to explore your inner world. So it can be a memory, it can be a person, it can be a place that brings you comfort and protection. See if you can bring it to your awareness. And allow this safe space to support you as you go deeper into your inner dialogue. Now see if you can focus on a situation that you just thought about where you would like to work, where you felt a pull between wanting to avoid a conflict and feeling a strong urge to stand up for yourself. So if you can picture yourself in that moment, feeling both the pressure to please others and this deep desire to assert your true value or true self. So see if you can shift your focus to the part of you that steps in to keep the peace by agreeing to please others, even when it compromises your own needs. So as you connect to that, just tune into any sensation you feel in your body. And pick up the object near your left hand to represent this part. And for now, make space to connect with this part that you hold in your left hand, which actually represents that pressure to agree. Now be curious towards this part so that you can understand deeply why it needs to protect you this way. So just be curious. So as you hold this object in your left hand, do some inquiry from curiosity. If there is a thought that is coming or an objection that is coming into your head, you can politely ask it to step aside, creating space for you to inquire with this part in your left hand. Now keep curiosity in place and ask a question. I'm curious to know, what do you want from me? What is your intention for me? And notice what you hear. This is a part of you that agrees and avoids conflicts. I'm curious to know, what is your intention for me? And still looking at your left hand object, ask is saying, what are you afraid would happen to me? Notice what you hear. Stay curious. Ask it, what is your biggest fear for me? What are you afraid would really happen to me ultimately? What's your biggest fear for me? Just notice what you hear. See if it makes sense and say, I feel compassion for all these fears that you carry. So you're asking to your object in left hand. I feel compassion for all those fears you carry. How have you been impacted in my day-to-day life and my interaction with people? How do you impact my day-to-day life and interaction with people and my world? Notice what you hear. Now ask it, I'm curious to know, when did you start protecting me this way? How old was I? And what was going on at that time in my life? So when did you start to protect me this way? How old was I? And what was going on in my life at that time? Take note of what you hear. Notice how you feel towards this part that you hold in your left hand. You see what is your emotion towards it. Do you feel compassion from a deeper understanding? If you do, just acknowledge and thank this part for its protective role. And ask it if it's willing to name itself. Any name. No judgment on what names come up. So that you can address this part later in the follow-up exercises. So you got a name, you got an age, since when it has been being this way, what was going on then. And now ask what it needs what needs to happen for it to feel more secure. So it'll tell you some actions to do. What needs to happen for it to feel more secure? Now ask it if it's okay for it to step back now so that you can speak to the other part. So you can put this object down, left hand, and see if you can shift your attention to the part of you that longs to assert its needs, that desires to stand up for itself. So pick up the object in your right hand to represent this part of you. And just pay attention to any sensation that arise in your body. Where do you feel it in your body? And how does it feel to you? What emotion do you get as you connect to that? And see if you can ask to the object in your right hand and put it there and say, you're going to represent this for me. Now become curious about this part. And stay with this attitude of curiosity and ask a question to this object in your right hand. So I'm curious to know, what is your intention for me? What do you want? And see what you hear. And follow up with another question. I'm curious to also know, what are you afraid will happen to me? And ask it, what is your biggest fear for me? Now see if you can accept or understand and say, well, I feel compassion for all those fears you carry. This is how you've been trying to protect me. How have you been impacting my day-to-day life, especially my interaction with people? How do you impact my day-to-day life? And then ask question, I'm just curious to know, when did you start protecting me like this? How old was I? And what was going on in my life then? And notice what you hear. acknowledge what you just heard, and just notice if you feel compassion for this part of you that is playing that role. All the fears it has, the intention it holds, and since when it is doing this way. Ask it to name itself, any name, and so that you can address it later on. I acknowledge that and thank this part for its effort, and ask it, what does it need to feel more balanced? What needs to happen so it can feel more balanced moving forward in life? Notice what you hear as actions. Now, invite both parts, so hold the two objects in both the hands. The part that feels pressurized that it has to agree, and the part that urges you to stand up for yourself on the left and the one in the right hand. And holding those objects in each hand, ask the parts that what would need to happen for them to have a common ground, for them to find a common ground. Just encourage them to do it. So, for example, ask to the part that feels pressurized to agree to express its concerns, and the one that feels the urge to stand up, why it needs to have its voice heard. So just ask them both to talk to each other so that they can find a common ground. Help them to realize that they can work together. And ask them both what needs to happen for them to feel calmer and more relaxed and working and accepting each other. And see if you can acknowledge what you heard. And thank each part for their presence today and acknowledge their important role in your life. And take a moment to share a vision for yourself moving forward. Let them know that this dialogue will continue and evolve as you make progress. So show them your vision of life. Now thank them both and take a moment to write down any insights you felt as we prepare for the tuning fork session. Okay, so for the tuning forks, how does it work? If you've not been here before, just to give you an idea. So basically we have this torus that you see in the picture. This is our extended field, or our field of, as you say, light and energy. In this field exist all the memories in form of points where all the difficulties, challenges, traumas that we go through are in this field. And the idea is that using tuning forks, once you activate the field using tuning forks, you can then get into the torus and find places where something or the other is not working. So in case something is failing, or if in case there is a trauma there, then you will, I will see when you run the tuning fork, you start to feel the sound changes. That's how you come to know that there's something there. So you will hear me talk about it. So how do? We start by opening the channel from below the feet on top of the head first, and then we go to the run a pendulum to know which chakra to work on, depending on what issue we have brought in today. And then from there, we start from the edge, which is the time of conception, and then move closer into the present moment. And as we pass that, we'll find other places where something would be there, and I will always indicate what age or what was going on there. Okay. So here we go. I will start by opening the channel below the feet, and then top of the head, and then into the field. Okay. Here we go. So what you do is you have to do a breathing. So with me, so take a breath into your through your nose, and then breathe out from your mouth. In case of a big issue, you may hear me do something like ha. Okay, and you do the same. Just follow me. Okay, so we start with 144 hertz below the feet and top of the head. Okay, so this is to ground you. Take a breath. So now I'm pointing below your feet. Yeah, okay. So there's a lot of resistance, interesting today, to ground. So connecting to Mother Earth. And it's actually in the heart. So just take a breath. Okay, grounding is becoming difficult today. Take a breath. So I'm still below your feet. Now I stuck at the solar plexus. Okay, so that moved a bit. Okay. Something is going on. Okay, we'll discover. Now we'll go to the top of the head. So I'm pointing top of the head, going down through your backbone into Mother Earth through you. This channel is opening easy. There's also connection to divine. Okay, so I'm going to run a pendulum through different chakras to see what comes up today. So we always start with the root. Second center, no. Third center, solar plexus, no. Heart, no. Okay, so today is the throat and the left side. Yeah. Okay, so today is asking us to work on the throat chakra. So throat center, this is about speaking your truth. Of course, the topic is standing up for yourself. So it's about being your authentic self and standing up for yourself. So something holding you back there. So we'll start as usual from the time of conception and then come in and see what comes up. Okay, here we go. And I'm changing the tuning fork. Okay, so I'm at the edge of the torus, left side, throat, 6 feet above to the end. Okay, so there you go. So this is a point of conception. For the moment, it's just saying, just observe. So if you have to ask a question, what does divine, because this is what it's saying, ask a question, what does divine, my higher self, wants for me in this life? Is what the little one who's just being brought into the world is asking this question. And for each of you, what is the answer that you get? Just take note of it. Why am I here? Yeah, the little one can be questioning, why am I here? It can be from a place of sadness, but also could be a place of curiosity. And bring in the answer for the little one. Use your connection to the higher self to bring this answer to the little one. Why are you here? Take a breath. And notice how that answer is for the little one. Yeah. Remember, it's a throat chakra, so it's also about being able to say your truth. Anyone with thyroid issues, this is where it is coming from. That's what he's saying. Okay, so I'm at birth. The exact same message as last time. Please send me love. So you're sending love to the little one who's coming in you. All your compassion, all the love. Because you just heard why she's here or he's here. Now you just welcome him or her into the world. You may have had, so it's saying what you may have had challenges in the present life, but you need to be clear to the little one, why am I here? And love her for being there. Accept her as she is or he is. And give love to all the parents, the people around. Take a breath. Okay, 16, 17-year-old. Speak the truth. That's what he's asking. Speak your truth. If there's any fear, let that fear melt away with this tuning fork now. Speak your truth. Okay, so it's gone to your mother space, and it's bringing some form of deep sadness and also desire to speak up from your mother, and see if you can send love to her, and also share with her why you came into the world. And thank her for bringing you into the world. And just keep holding your mom. So this is her early age, her childhood, what she went through. This is her stories. And you're bringing peace between you and her, and love. Speaking your truth. Okay, so now I'm on the top of your throat. And we are going to start to release anything and everything that came up. Okay, there we go. So we are going to just create a closure. So this continues to work over the next 48 hours. And do, with a 528, put a cocoon around you. Now take a moment to reflect on the paths that have surfaced today. Acknowledge their presence and the courage it took for you to explore them. Sit with this awareness, deeply connecting with those parts and honoring their unique roles they play in protecting and supporting you in your life. And imagine sending a warm, soothing light to both these parts, filling them with compassion and understanding, letting them know that they are valued, seen, and they no longer need to work in isolation, and you will be in contact with them. And now visualize these parts finding harmony within you, working together to support your well-being. They no longer need to pull you in different directions. Instead, they can work in balance. Take one final deep breath, feeling a sense of integration and calm flow through your body. As you exhale, ground yourself fully in this present moment. And when you're ready, simply start to come back and be here. Thank you for your presence.